Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Honeybee Stamps, and this is actually my husband's Father's Day card. So we're going to create this card today, but specifically we're going to talk about how to make a card that is all about him and how I chose the things that I did. So the main kind of star of the show was the display box A2 cover plate. And then you can see I chose all of these other ones because I had a specific idea in mind. And that is kind of like the crux of what we're going to talk about and how to personalize our cards. So first things first, I'm laying everything out for my die cuts. So for the display case, it comes with one base piece and then it comes with like the insert piece. Here I'm using this to create a little keychain. This is actually a leather that I made in another video where I did wallets. I'll link that at the end in case you haven't seen it. They came out really cool, honestly. But I actually ended up switching and using the black leather that I made, and that video was brown and black. The brown, it doesn't really show up. And then I chose a bunch of different metallics to kind of keep it interesting. And like I had a lot, like I had keys, I had this little knife going on, I had a lot of different things. So I also personalized it with his initials. Honeybee has a couple of different alphabets. This is I think it's the serif. And that worked really well. I also created my own challenge coin. That's what you see me doing here. What is a challenge coin? If you are not a police or a military family, you might not know. Challenge coins are things that are given as an acknowledgement or a sign of respect for them to be included in a group. And they are very common in military and police departments. And so that was something that I was thinking about when I was putting his card together. I'm using the gold metallic ink to stamp onto a silver mirror cardstock. And then I am sprinkling on some gold embossing powder and I am going to heat set that. I live in Ohio, so that is the state that I chose, but Honeybee carries all of the states. So if that's something that you're interested in using, I think they're pretty cool. The die is the same for all of them, whatever state you're getting. I think they're particularly cool for like scrapbooking, but I don't do that anymore. So anyway, they have one that's kind of like a pinking edge and then one that is a round edge. Two that are a round edge, one that's larger, one that's smaller. So I did the pinking edge to cut out the one that I embossed and then the larger round edge to cut out like the base of it. Here I've trimmed them all down. You can see all my little parts that I'm going to run them through. So if you have been a follower of my channel for a long time, you already know that when I buy my husband a gift, I typically try to match the card to the item that I have purchased for him. I give it like a theme, right? And so, can you guess what I purchased him? I'll tell you at the end of the video if you don't already know what I purchased him. So when I was going through and I was thinking about no, you know what, I'm going to have to tell you anyway, because otherwise we're not going to be able to talk about how I picked the thing. So I got to tell you. So now's the time, put your guess below to see if you are correct, because what I purchased him was a desk organizer for his office. Here, so the display case, it cuts out that like inset to show like the different sections, and then you cut it out again with the larger base piece. I did mine backwards, so you could cut the base piece out of the dark brown and then cut the inset out of it. I did the inset first and then did the larger base piece. They both work. But that piece that we did in white, I am using my 3D embossing folder on. This is the wood grain 3D embossing folder because the desk organizer that I bought him is made out of wood. So I am going to ink this up and you'll be able to see the wood grain. I used some warmer browns for the base, and then I did add a little bit of interest with some cooler browns. What is that one? Scorched timber. That's a little bit on the cooler side. And then, of course, you guys know that I'll add a couple of little marker things to help make it a little bit more dimensional. Okay, so this required me to really think about the things that my husband would have on his desk to make it personal for him. Now, my husband is in law enforcement, so that shaped the things that I chose that would be on his desk. But whatever you're making, not necessarily a desk organizer, like masculine cards are hard for all of us, right? Sometimes because I like flowers and glitter, and that's probably not the card for him. And when I'm trying to make a card for him, I want him to be excited about it. I want him to open up his card and be like, she really thought about me. And this is where I'm trying to make the brown work. The brown ain't working. I had to recut it out of the black leather. Um, and so I really wanted him to be like, this card was thoughtful and she thought about me. And I did, because it was his Father's Day card, which obviously, like, dads traditionally, over the years, like, dads were not always as involved in their families. A lot of that was considered like women's work, or that the household or the child rearing fell to women. And nowadays, like, we are trying to make sure that our husbands, our fathers of our children, are more partners. Um, and that does take a considerable amount of work from all of us, because moms are working full time and dads are working full time. And so they both need to be working full time to, be raising their kids. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to pretend um, like it's anything else. I picked a good one. I got a great one. He's a wonderful father. He is loving and supportive, and he plays with the kids, and he spends time with them, and he wrestles with them, but he's also just as likely to read them a book or sit down and have a conversation with them. You guys know, recently my daughter had her dance recital. That he went every Friday. They had practice together. They learned their daddy-daughter dance routine. He went up on that stage and danced with her. She thought it was the best thing ever. I have rarely seen a thing that brought me as much joy as seeing my husband dance with my daughter. But I can also tell you, like, I had a wonderful dad. It was a different time. But, like, as a daughter whose father would never have done that, like, she's too little to appreciate it now, but she will someday. As a daughter, she will look back and she will really genuinely appreciate that. And he's a great dad. So when he's opening his Father's Day card for me, I want him to know that I think that he is a wonderful father, and he is a wonderful husband, and that I am endlessly grateful for the way that he is and the way that he shows up for our family. So I'm thinking about this with the elements. This is what I'm encouraging you to do when you are making a card, okay? Think about the things that make them them. And then that will give you a great jumping off point. So for me, like, I know, because like I know his I know what his dresser looks like. But also we work together. So when I know what his desk is going to have on it. I know that he collects challenge coins. I know that in his family, this is no joke. Him, his brother, his dad, if you're opening a package, and you're like, hey, I need to grab a pair of scissors, all three of them are going to pull out a pocket knife. Like, it just is what it is. So this particular knife came from the fishing tackle set, but that made sense for me to put it on there. This that I'm coloring here, this is actually the pop-up for the party hat, but it looks very similar to a mourning band. And this is an unfortunate side effect of working in law enforcement, is that when they have another officer that is killed in the line of duty, they wear mourning bands until they are, from the time that they have passed until they are buried. So they wear their mourning bands. So that's definitely going to be on his desk, unfortunately waiting for the next time that it needs to be put on. Here, so these are kind of some words of affirmation from different sets. I used well played, sir. what's the other one? Is it True Gentleman? I can't remember. But anyway, I used a couple, they're all linked below. And then, so I laid them out here because I wanted to make sure that they were going to fit in my organizer. And the reason that I chose to put them in the organizer is because the organizer that I purchased him has engraving, like it has engraving in it, that has a little note for him, and then the other side says like husband and dad. So the Happy Father's Day is the actual sentiment for the card. So I'm stamping that one in white and heat embossing it in white. The other ones I'm doing in gold because they're going to sit in the background. Now, why do I think that that's an important part of the card? Important enough to include. Yes, I am mimicking what the desk organizer looks like, but also I think as a society, we don't support or encourage men. We don't tell them that they are valued, that they are important, that they are doing important work for their families, that they are allowed to have emotions and have feelings and be, um, loving with their children and kind and thoughtful. And they like our society expects them to like have this tough outer exterior, and like if they don't, then they're weak or they're judged or what, like, but then like we teach little boys like, don't cry or things like that, and then as grown women we are like, why can my husband not process his feelings? Well, because when he was raised as a young boy, we were told he wasn't allowed to have feelings. So now he don't have no feelings, and he doesn't know how to process the feelings that he does have. So anyway, I think that those words of affirmation are especially important for young men. And I say that as a wife and also as the mother of a young boy. So here, this flag, and this is what I mean by looking at the different things that you have and kind of getting more out of what you already own. This flag is actually part of the summer front porch add-on. It's going to work really well for me because obviously with the job that my husband does, there's a lot of like patriotism associated with law enforcement and the military and all of that. So doing the little flag makes sense. That's something that maybe he doesn't have on his desk, but you wouldn't be surprised if it was there, especially since mine almost always works the overtime on Memorial Day. Um, but anyway, so these are like just things that I was trying to think of that were specific to him. He's going to have keys on his desk. Now, I think nowadays it's more of like a key fob, but that just is not going to look as nice. So I went old school key because when I started working at that police department, we had old school keys. And then personalizing it with his initials. That's something else that makes it a little bit extra. So the display box, when it originally came out, it had a tackle box add-on. So if you have a fisherman, like that's a great way to do that. If you have somebody in your life who like their hobby is woodworking, there's different things that you can pull together, and maybe make it so that it looks like they're carved out of wood. Or maybe you have someone who is super into like trains, or like I worked with a guy who loved the trains. Somebody who builds models, somebody's into cars or mechanics. Like there's a lot of options out there that you can make it very specific to them, but you don't necessarily have to buy a specific set. You might already have something that you can turn into this other thing that you're looking for. So like mine is a total menagerie. Okay. This is a veritable cornucopia of different dyes. But when they come together, the theme makes sense. It brings it all together and really drives home. Like I don't think anybody would look at this card and not know like this is for somebody who is involved in law enforcement or the military or something of the like. And mine is. So here I did trim off the to the best dad because he's not my dad. And so I didn't want there to be any like any misunderstanding about that. The set that I pulled that from doesn't have husband in there. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So here I've laid everything out, and now I'm going to start building the whole thing. So everything's laid out, and I'm just going to add little bits of glue. I do want to note that badge up there. This is the way that the badges look from that particular department, and the badge itself is actually from Spellbinders, and it's discontinued, but there are some still in stock. And I linked it below. Where is it? Cherry on top. They're actually having a sale right now. You can get 15% off, or 20 if you spend over $100. But anyway, so that is from them. I also think it's in stock at scrapbook.com maybe. But anyway, I linked it. That's one that I have that's been discontinued that I'm just going to keep because it makes sense to have it in my family. But the label, the middle part, actually came from the Lovely Layers herb garden from Honeybee. And then the the tag accessories, that's where all like the keys and the keychain came from. Like I said, the morning band was from the party hat. So there's a lot going on in here and none of them are related. And that's the part that it's like it's okay to do like a collage style type thing, with different elements that maybe don't go together for anybody else, but they do for you, and they're very specific to the person that you're celebrating. And this one happens to be about Father's Day or, masculine cards, but that's true for any of them. So here, the gold was a little too blingin'. It was kind of like taken away from the other elements. So I wanted to knock it back a little bit. Now, thankfully, with alcohol markers, you can color literally anything. So you don't want to like swipe it back and forth because you can kind of damage the embossing. But you can kind of dot it, like dab it on over. And that is what I did. And then I did go in and add a little shadow down into the left, like a cast shadow, so that they looked like they were sitting on top of the wood. Um, and I was really happy with the way that this turned out. I think it's very cute. I think it's very much him. I know that masculine cards are challenging. They're challenging for all of us. You're not alone. But I think that this kind of take on it, like looking at what you have, seeing how you can make it fit the theme. I have another card that I made for Father's Day that literally none of the things are the things. I only use them for their shapes. And that one's an interactive card, and that'll be coming up soon. But anyway, so I added the little stitch detail. I added a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of glossy accents on that label to make it kind of fancy and shiny. I didn't do too much detail work, just a little bit with the white gel pen, because I have so many metallics and it's already making itself interesting. But that's the whole card. So, here, quick tip, you can use a light gray or a colorless blender to pull off any ink that you got on the metallics that you don't want. Just wipe it off on a piece of scrap paper. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.